On this episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we're going to look, folks, at the relationship and the power struggle that may be ensuing between head coach Matt Rhule and general manager Scott Fitterer. And what role does David Tepper have in all this? Before we get into today's video, make sure you're subscribed. Doesn't cost anything. Pound that like button, hit that bell notification, be notified of future videos like this on the Panthers. And hey, folks, leave me some comments. I love the dialogue. All right, folks, I kind of want to do a brief video. As we approach, free agency still going on. We'll still sign a few more because what's going to happen, the free agents that have not signed yet, the price will be lowered. Some have been waiting out. There's a few more that may still command a pretty good salary. They're trying to wait to see what's going to happen. And of course, after the draft, you'll still have some fallout because some teams kind of hinge a position or two that they would like to address, and they try to do that through the NFL draft. And sometimes a player they might want doesn't fall to them, or they take another position because the player that they get they did not expect to be there, and it's just too good of a player to pass up. So they'll end up going back into free agency to address and backfill some of the needs of a position that they have. Okay, so I know Matt Rhule was given the keys of this franchise by David Tepper. And I don't know about every Panther fan, but the very first year, I didn't have a problem with Matt Rhule's, coaching. We did finish 5-11. However, I look at 8 of those 11 losses, and they were by 8 points or less. We were in every game. We seemed to have gotten better as the season went on. 2 of those 3 losses that were double-digit, 2 of them were Tampa Bay as they went on to win the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So, we were going to be a young team, and we were going to learn, and we were going up against Brady and the Buccaneers, so that was to be expected. And then it was the last game of the season against New Orleans, and they kind of handed it to us. Now, fast forward to this year, I thought things were going to get better. We started out 3-0. And then we end up finishing 5-12. And I didn't see the improvement. Of course, we got rid of Joe Brady. And I didn't see the improvement on defense, special teams. And we had to get rid of Blackburn on special teams coach because I think he shouldn't have been in the Eagle game. It should have never happened to block punt at the end of the game. We lost that game. But needless to say, we're picking number 6 in the draft. Now, I think, and I knew it was going to happen, Scott Fitterer has got to find a way, and I think he has already started to wrestle some of the power away from Matt Rhule. Regardless of what Matt Rhule thinks, with being 5-11 and 5-12, given this third year, and if it doesn't get any better, what I mean by getting any better, folks, he could very well finish 7-10 and still keep his job. And you say, well, how's that? Well, if that's 7-10, if those 10 losses, there's improvement again. If we have a decimation of injuries. Now, let's say he finishes 9-8 and has a winning record. It's another thing. Hey, we're showing improvement. We're getting better. But if he has another season where we're 5-12 or worse, or even 6-11, I think he's gone, folks. He's gone. And Scott Fitterer cannot find himself on the hot seat. He's got to work with Matt Rhule, but he's got to find a way to separate himself to gain control. Because once Matt Rhule is gone, if he's gone as a head coach, Scott Fitterer will be very much hands-on with David Tepper in picking the next coach. And Fitterer will then definitely be the one in charge. We'll just be looking at a head coach, not one with a lot of authority and power. Now, saying that, I think Fitterer has found a way to wrestle some control, whether it be through the draft, through free agency, or just the overall say of the roster. Now, it's true that once the season begins and training camp starts, and Scott Fitterer's done everything he could to put this roster together, it's going to be up to Matt Rhule and the other coaches to establish that culture in the locker room and get the right X's and O's schemes going to see what kind of team we've got to see improvement. But I do believe Scott Fitterer has already started taking control from Matt Rhule with the roster and some of the philosophies and things that are going on inside the building. I think it's very key. Now, free agency, I think a lot of issues were addressed, but we felt the same thing last year. Signing Hassan Reddick to a one-year deal was a steal. Problem is, he played himself into a new contract with somebody else. Could that be the thing that we got with Baltimore's center Bozeman, who can also play guard? One-year deal. He'd like to stay. But if he plays himself into a big contract, maybe we end up moving on to other offensive linemen who are younger. We look at other positions. The linebacker Perryman was taken last year, and I know he had some issues with COVID or whatever, and we cut him and released him, but the big splash signing didn't turn out to be that. He went to the Raiders and did better. Morgan Fox was a good signing. I do believe that the Davion Nixon move as a young player, I think he has shined enough that we can save money and let Fox go. With players like McCaffrey restructuring and Shaq Thompson, we're allowed to bring in other linebackers, offensive line. There's still a couple of offensive linemen out there if we go after Dwayne Brown from Seattle at left tackle. But I really feel that this draft is going to say a lot. There's three ways we can go, and I've said it before. Number one, you pick the best available player. That very well, folks, could be a defensive end. And if it is, we're set for having a great pass rush with Brian Burns on one side and a guy like Thibodeau or Hutchinson on the other. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case because I think both of those players will be gone. The most likely scenario is an offensive lineman. If Ikwanu from NC State is there, Evan Neal from Alabama, jump on them. If they're not, it's a good opportunity to trade down and get a guy like Lon Baum from Boston College as a center, get a guy like Charles Cross, the left tackle from Mississippi State, although I don't necessarily think he fits our scheme, or get a guy like the Northern Iowa, his name escapes me right now, the big offensive left tackle that I think would be an awesome pick. And I'll put the name below. I just can't think of it right now. But it would be an outstanding pick. Trevor Penning, I believe is his name. We couldn't go wrong with that. And I think we solidified our line. And Brady Christensen's played himself into a starting role. Dwayne Brown being filler, being backup depth. He could end up starting in a guard position. I think we definitely could be better. We definitely could be better with the offensive line. And I think that's the safest route to go. Where does it leave holes? Well, we could definitely use an upgrade at linebacker. But we're not going to spend a first-round pick on a linebacker. And being that we don't draft into the fourth round, I don't know if we're going to get one. And we've kind of bought in a couple guys during free agency. So that could be a position in need that we'll have to wait to see other teams make the roster cuts. It wouldn't hurt to have another safety. Kyle Hamilton in Notre Dame is there. That's a luxury pick. I don't think we'll see it. I wouldn't feel bad if we used that number 6 pick or moved down a few picks and got him. I just don't see it being us. And if it would, we'd be solidified for a long time at safety. But I think we've kind of shored that position up. And, we could use another safety, but I think we're okay there. Other than that, it's depth at defensive line. Okay? Now, offensively, I think it should be tackle. If we do not go that route, the one position on offense that could be sitting there at number 6 is quarterback. Malik Willis has a high ceiling, but he also has a low floor, which means he could be boom or bust. And I don't know if we want to be the ones to take that. He could even be gone by the time we pick at 6. Kyle Pickett's the one I think this franchise is maybe looking at, and he very well could be the pick. Now, could be a poor man's Justin Herbert. I got looking at number 6 overall picks that were quarterbacks. A lot of them are pretty lousy. Pick 6, the interception, you don't really want that. But Justin Herbert was picked 2 years ago at pick number 6, and I would definitely love to have him on our squad. He's a star in the making. Now, is Kyle Pickett that good? Probably not. He doesn't have a size, but his accuracy could be there. So that's something we really got to look at. If we get Dwayne Brown in free agency, and we think that we need to go ahead and get a quarterback, that is something to look at. That might be able to help Rhule out, but I don't know. We might just have to roll with Darnold because I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft who's going to look better than Darnold the first year. We could be fooled. That's why I really think we need to get an offensive line, plug and play, and go in the first round. Let the chips fall where they may. Hey, if Rhule doesn't save his job, oh well. I think Fitterer can see that everything else can be put in place, and we just need a quarterback. If we have a bad record, get rid of Rhule. Maybe next year we're picking top 10. There could be more quarterbacks, deeper quarterbacks. Hey, if we end up dropping in the first round and going down and getting our linemen in the teens, maybe we pick up a second round pick and we can get a guy like Sam Howell or Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. And not saying they'd be a great quarterback, but it's an option. I don't even have a problem with the Zapp kid from Western Kentucky as a late round flyer. See what happens. But I do believe it's time that Fitterer takes control from Rhule. And I hear a lot of people talking about David Tepper keeping his mouth shut. People did not like him being brass. They did not like him running his mouth. They thought he was cocky. Put his money where his mouth is. He's a billionaire. However, when he's quiet, because I think he has put his foot in his mouth before, he doesn't say anything because he wants to wait for results now. Now people want him to speak. You can't make people happy. I think Tepper, the best thing for him to do is be quiet. I think he got shit on his shoe when he put Rhule in charge. I think he got shit on his shoe when he waited to get Fitterer, who's a good fit. But when he got rid of Hurney after Rivera and didn't get, he kept Hurney around too long. And he should have had Fitterer in before he got Rhule. And then, of course, the Bridgewater saga after getting rid of Cam, bringing Cam back, bringing Darnold in, the fifth-year option. There's a lot that Tepper's done that's kind of alienated the fans. I think Rhule more than anything else. So he probably needs to sit down and be quiet until he can right this ship. Then when it's right, then he can run his mouth. Okay, folks, what do you think of today's video? Do you think Fitterer has gained any control from Matt Rhule? Do you think this is Matt Rhule's last year? Do you think there's anything he can do to save his job? What do you think we do in the draft? Do you think we take an offensive lineman, which is the route I think we need to go? Or do you think we're definitely going to take a swing at one of these quarterbacks? Leave me some comments. I love the dialogue. Pound that like button. Hit that bell notification to be notified of future videos like this on the Panthers. And by all means, folks, subscribe. It's free. Help Uncle Chucky out. I will see you next time on another episode of Carolina Sports Guy.